As I was checking out from Whole Foods today, I handed the cashier a $10 bill. She proceeded to tell me that I need to stop using cash because I am destroying the environment. Reddit, what is the most ridiculous thing an environmentalist has said to you? The son of a friend of mine made a bird feeder out of a plastic soda bottle and brought it in for show and tell, and was told by the teacher that he shouldn't use it to feed birds because it's still litter and should be recycled instead. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't finding another use for something considered trash count as recycling? Apparently it's not recycling unless you put it in a bin somewhere. Reduce, reuse, recycle is in that order because it goes from most to least beneficial for the environment. He reused it, which is seriously way better than recycling. Just, Did she give you a receipt? For me, my company gets proposals for perpetual motion devices all the time. It's nice that these inventors care enough about the environment to at least try to come up with a sustainable energy solution, but if you are going to make a profession out of it, at least learn basic concepts of physics and thermo. If I have to hear, we should make an electric car with a wind turbine facing forward to charge the battery as the car is moving one more time. I am rage quitting the consulting business. I've had a girl tell me that cancer wouldn't exist if we didn't eat meat. Edit, just to clarify, she was making the point that all cancer wouldn't be here if we didn't eat meat. Oh, and I don't know if Sun Chips still have those biodegradable bags, but I buried one of them in my yard, and my neighbor gave me the dirtiest look. Who the duck changes the bags because of the noise? My mom had ovarian cancer. Turns out processed grains are highly toxic. That and dried beans. Doctors told her to avoid them to help with the side effects of chemo. Tell them vegans that. I had a Prius driver verbally assault me for burning gas and killing the environment. I drive a CRX and get 53 miles per gallon. Better than her Prius. 53 miles per gallon? Holy duck. Anyone who is concerned about emissions would not buy a brand new hybrid car. Hybrids are terrible for the environment. The way to go is to buy an older Honda or 4-door Toyota or something from the 90s. You get 30 to 50 miles per gallon, and you aren't contributing to the horrible process of creating those batteries for fancy hybrid cars. You can drive one of those for 200,000 miles and it will be way better for the environment than a brand new hybrid. I had a Prius driver tell me that her car didn't have a battery and that her car was solar powered. I asked her about the gasoline, and she said that it was only a lubricant, which was why she only ever filled up 4 quarts at a time. She apparently filled up constantly. I was floored. She worked for a green energy company selling wind power to consumers outside a Whole Foods, oddly enough. People give me shit because I hunt, and say it's not fair that I have a gun and they don't. What they fail to realize is that if I were a deer, I would rather be shot than poked to death with a spear by a dude in a loincloth. They also usually say that I'm a horrible person, and that I should get my meat from the grocery store, as if the meat is magically conjured up from thin air. Deer are majestic animals who should be allowed to run freely through the woods, so if you want to eat meat, do the humane thing and go to the grocery store and buy veal. Edit, yes, I know that veal is not deer meat. I just thought more people would know the term veal and venison, and yes, it was meant as sarcasm. Haha. Exactly. This is what people don't realize. The deer I eat gets to live a fulfilling natural life. The hamburger they eat comes from a cow that spent its whole life in a box. I was told off for being vegetarian, as I was wrecking the planet by not eating greenhouse gas producing cows. I think somewhere in this rant it was also mentioned that I was contributing to world hunger by eating the food that cows we eat should be getting. We've gone full circle. Next time, tell her that US cash is printed on linen paper, a renewable and sustainable resource. Then tell her to keep her preaching to herself. And ask for a plastic bag while you're at it. Edit, for duck's sake, you nitwits. This response isn't about proving the cashier wrong. It's about giving her a verbal slap and encouraging her not to be preachy. It's actually printed on paper that is comprised of 75% cotton and 25% linen. Or at least that's what the US Treasury says, but we all know how the government lies and shit. I was once torn out by an environmentalist for donating blood because of all the plastic involved. I mentioned it often saved lives. She countered with, and keeps more people alive to pollute. I find this to be an unfortunately common argument they use. I hate life-saving treatment, because life-saving treatment means more people stay alive to pollute. The best response: well, if you think the best way to reduce pollution is to allow people to die, why don't you go ahead and set the example? 4 years ago during election season, I was going to see Ralph Nader give a speech at a local college. When I got there were lots of activists handing out pamphlets about their respective issues. There was one lady who said she had the secret to clean energy. She then proceeded to say that the solution was, I kid you not, aliens. She was saying that if we didn't get more aggressive in our quest for extraterrestrial life, we would never benefit from their clean energy technology. I took a pamphlet out of morbid curiosity. It was as crazy as you'd expect. Actually, it makes sense. Why should we figure out clean energy when the aliens have already done it? Not saying she isn't crazy or that her solution is a real solution, but saying let's find someone else who already has done it is at least a decent answer. Aliens land on Earth. Finally. After months of figuring out the best way to communicate, going back to base elements our points of reference, we finally find a way to have a meaningful conversation with them. A lot of money, resources and manpower has gone into finding, supplying, and understanding them. And at last, we can ask them the question about their clean energy solution. Shit, we were about to ask the same thing. Ho, we don't use any petroleum products in our house. Me, none. Ho, none. Me, thinking of all the petroleum products that reassuredly in her house and picking the most obvious target. There's no plastic in your house. Not even a baggie or a garbage bag? Oh, well yeah, we use plastic bags for stuff. This happened to me while filing up my car at the gas station, Subaru WRX, which admittedly gets only 25 miles per gallon and is not very environmentally friendly, but not super evil also. A woman rolls up in her SUV behind me and starts to fill her tank. She then proceeds to tell me that I am destroying the environment because I am driving a high-performance car, kudos to her auto knowledge I guess, and that I need to be more environmentally conscious because it impacts her and her kids. I pointed out she was driving an SUV, to which she said, oh, it's a hybrid. Those hybrid SUVs get around 20 miles per gallon. Congratulations, you're driving a marketing gimmick. I used to sit next to these two straight-edge vegans during a college class that were friendly, but would always chide me for having leather on my shoes, and kept talking to me about going vegan. Sometimes we'd eat together, and I'd always try to order non-meat stuff to respect their beliefs. Then one day they picked me up for a concert. Leather seats. Their reply when I pointed this out, it's okay, we bought it from another vegan. A university friend who I care for very dearly, once drove me to nearly punch them. Because I one time, forgot to turn my light off in my room when going out for the night. He told me people like me were killing the planet. I wouldn't have minded if this were not the case. I am stingy with electricity due to cost. None of my family own cars as none of them can afford them. I'd been on one return plane journey in my life, as though cheaper than they were, flights and pocket change. Basically, through having duck all money I accidentally greenness. Meanwhile he turned off my lights, wrote me notes telling me I should never run a bath, but only ever shower, and that my handwriting was too big taking notes, so I used too much paper in lectures. And he flew home to the other side of Europe every 6 weeks. And flew to the US 3 times a year. And Africa and Asia on holiday too. And drove his parents' expensive car across Europe a bunch of times. And ordered heavy goods from other continents. And took taxis everywhere while I walked. When I told him, after getting a maths inclined friend to crunch the numbers, that my light would have had to have been left on for 11 years to run up as much CO2 as one of his short haul flights, he told me that he was a contributor to awareness, and that excused what he did, and that his CO2 usage was more important. That's when I nearly hit him. That hunting was inhumane, and that, if I had to eat meat, I should get it from the grocery store. because no animals are harmed that way. Granted, she was a high school dropout. Some Greenpeace kids were trying to get me to donate money. I told them I was in grad school, paying out of pocket, and that I didn't have any to give. The girl smugly said, "Well, you're already in debt, so why not give us some anyway?" I was once told that nuclear power was the worst for the environment because of the huge smokestacks. I really couldn't believe my ears. On a side note, sometimes I go to organic grocery stores to ask questions about the bullshit in the pharmacy. I asked a woman what the benefits of DNA pills were, and she told me that it was good for fighting cancer, because cancer patients don't have enough DNA in their blood. I overheard a woman at the Apple store ask for clarification about the new MacBooks. Can you switch it off when you're not using it? You know, I'm an environmentalist. My friend worked at a food place and would feel bad about food being wasted, so she would eat all of the leftover scraps or mistakes even if she wasn't hungry. She claimed it was to not be wasteful, but since she was already overweight, the food just became more weight that she was trying to lose. The food was still wasted but just wasted in a different way. So now she is upset about the environment and her body.